Is that Deep Purple?
He sings about fire, and he's cool.
He does. He does. Hey, what's up, Internet?
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Wow, must have been behind something. You must have been hiding.
You look good. Have you been working out? You look really good.
No. I look like trash. I don't look like trash. You're dressed like a garbage monster. Hey, you want to hear a funny story about this morning, guys? I'm not talking to you. All right, you know what story I'm going to say, right?
No, I don't.
You probably do because it involves you. I texted Brian and I said, hey, what's the best Deep Purple album? And then he was like, it's probably Machine Head. And I was like, are you trying to tell me that their Machine Head is better than the rest?
Green to red.
Fainted. He went to the hospital.
I did.
It's hospital time. What's up? What's up? My name's Bloat the Throat.
My name is Crazy Crenshaw.
And we're D-minus chats. We're going to talk about a fucking album. We're going to talk about a album. We're going to talk about the 5th album ever. It was probably released by the Beatles.
I disagree.
Okay.
Okay.
But first, Brian, what were you listening to today?
Oh, yes, of course. An album. So just letting you know, I have a list of albums that were released this year that I never got around to listen to. And so not only am I listening to all of them,
wow,
but some of these are going to be like a mini review because they're pretty good. So check this one out, okay? Greg Graffin. He is from Bad Religion. Yes, singer and one of the chief songwriters, and his most recent solo effort called Millport.
House.
It's a house.
Because it's a house on the cover. Yeah.
Yeah. So Millport, Greg Graffin. It is. He's done this before. He on his solo time, he does Americana folk rock, and it's pretty good. Yeah. If you're an Americana fan, this probably won't do it for you, though, because this is done by somebody who doesn't really know much about the Americana genre. So if you're already an Americana fan and you like people like, I don't know, Will Hogue and Jason Isbell and Gregory Alan Isaacoff, then this probably isn't for you. But if you just like some straightforward songs and some good songwriting and instrumentation, this is pretty awesome. So yeah, Greg Graffin from Bad Religion and his new solo album Millport. It's pretty good. It was released recently, I think a couple months ago. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you listen to the new Jason Isbell album?
I haven't gotten around to that yet. No, I've been slacking, and I'm an idiot for that.
I thought you would have. I thought you really liked Jason Isbell.
I do. I've just been.
Are you trying to tell me you're not a real fan? Hey, ask me a question.
What? Okay. Hey, what were you listening to today?
Wow, I didn't have any idea you were going to ask that. I was listening to something that's very different, in fact. I was listening to an instrumental hip-hop album called...
Okay.
Look, focus. The Music Scene by producer Blockhead. Blockhead is a hip-hop producer who has worked with... The two biggest names he's worked with are A$AP Rock and Illogic. A$AP Rock's bigger albums, like Labor Days and things like that, Blockhead has produced, which I am quite a big fan of, and I think his production on that is amazing. And I'm also a really big fan of Illogic and the production he does on his albums, notably Celestial Clockwork is astounding. It's like really, really good. So I gave his instrumental stuff a chance where he's just producing, and it is not like his work on those two rappers albums, because it's much more composed, it's much more theatrical, it is very, very orchestrated. It's not a straight ahead forward, straightforward ahead, straightforward forward, straight ahead. instrumental hip hop album by any stretch of the imagination. It's extremely colorful. There's all kinds of instrumentation. So if you like straightforward, like hip hop driven drums, along with an array, a vast, colorful array of instrumentation over it, I definitely recommend giving The Music Scene a chance by Blockhead. It's a great experiment, instrumental hip hop album.
Excellent.
Is this album we're going to review hip hop?
No, it is not. It can be whatever it wants. It
can be whatever it wants.
Extreme metal. It's extreme metal, right? Would you also? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Cradle of Filth, if I may. Cradle of Filth is an English. Should I say it?
Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
They're a black metal band.
Yes!
I'm afraid. They're a black metal band from England who's been around for a while now, probably like 20 years at least.
Yeah.
I think they started releasing music in the 90s, along with other bands in that like kind of era movement of black metal. Included bands like Dimmu Borgir, who usually gets associated with them because they both have an interesting modern take on black metal that you don't expect to hear from black metal, because usually black metal will be more traditional. They'll be more like look back to the bigger names in the genre in the early 90s, like Mayhem and Emperor and Dark Throne, to their sounds. But Cradle of Filth and Dimmu Borgir, but I'll just talk about Cradle of Filth tends to be more forward thinking, more cleaner production, that take influence from more places. And they really, over the years, have really solidified their sound as being this big symphonic, orchestral, like almost theatrical performance of a black metal band. They won't do strictly symphonic black metal, like whatever you want to call it. I guess Emperor to some extent. What were some of those symphonic black metal bands you were into back in the day that you were telling me about?
Oh man, I was really into this one band, And Oceans. I thought they had such a great symphonic element, except they kind of went more industrial, as surprisingly a lot of black metal bands did.
It's true.
Yeah. So, but no, I mean, what really got me into black metal personally, and I was like 15, 16 at the time, was the symphonic aspect of it. And so I was listening to also, Dimmu Borgir. I was listening to a little bit of Emperor. I like Emperor a lot, like what they throw in. And I've always just really loved the symphonic, just cinematic nature of certain extreme metal. And I thought that all of black metal was like that. I was wrong. Yeah.
Then you listen to Dark Throne.
I did, and I was like, did I get the wrong version of that?
That's awesome. So Cradle of Filth, they take the symphonic element of black metal and they turn it, not like, kind of have their own spin on it. It's not exactly like what you'd expect from symphonic black metal. It's going to be much more influenced by, as well as symphonic black metal, also a lot of death doom metal, a lot of straight up symphonic metal. Mm-hmm. It's going to definitely be a lot more down paced than your traditional black metal band will sometimes be. The vocals are going to be different. They'll have clean vocals. They kind of have had their own sound since the beginning, in the early days when they released Midian, I think was like their first album, something like that.
I think so, yeah.
It was more streamlined, but as the years went forward, they were comfortable doing more polished production and everything. And they came out with Amphetamine, I think it was 04.
I think so.
Do you know?
It was 05? Wait, let me check. Based on when I was alive.
It's a good thing to base it on.
I'm looking at my life.
Yeah, you should do that. And when they did that, I think they were on like Relapse or something, or Metal Blade, one of the bigger metal labels.
04, good job.
Yes, nice. What label was on?
That was Roadrunner. See, right now they're on Nuclear Blast, which I thought they were always on. Now. I always screw that up, yeah.
No, yeah, I guess they were on Roadrunner. Whatever. So they were on Roadrunner. They might have been on Earache back in the day anyway. All right, whatever, it doesn't matter. when that album came out, it was on a big metal label, Roadrunner. That was Slipknot was on, all kinds. I think fucking Nickelback was on that fucking shit for a while.
Yeah,
yeah. Like I mean, big
Killswitch
bands.
Engage. Yeah,
Killswitch Engage. Like big bands were on Roadrunner. They dropped that album, and I think that really helped. I mean, they always had like kind of a following, but I think that really helped catapult them into the mainstream and the mainstream of metal, at least. And then you know, I haven't really followed them as closely as maybe I should have, because I did really like enjoy the album Amphetamine. I'm sorry if I'm going to lose all my fucking black metal cred for saying that, but I might. But I kind of enjoyed them, and I heard they were coming out with a album this year. And what did you think of it? It's called Cryptoriana, the Seductiveness of Decay.
Mm-hmm.
You know why it's called Cryptoriana? I read about it on
Why?
Wikipedia.
Why is that?
Because Danny Filth wanted to explore the connection between the Victorian era and their obsession with death. So instead of Victorian, it's Cryptorian. What'd you think of it?
Henceforth. Okay. Well, I don't. I've never liked Cradle of Filth.
You better watch your mouth on your mama.
All right, so
wash your mother's mouth. I'm sorry.
Continue. I never liked them. I never did. It was always too much. It was too much of the imagery. It was always too much in the and like the music would actually get lost. I was like, are these guys heavy? Like, what am I listening to? And so I guess unfairly, I never gave them much of a chance, mainly because I never stood Danny Filth's vocals and his approach to metal vocals. The shriek, I never got the shriek. I never understood the shriek. But then again, I was like 16 and I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And it sounded like, it sounded like fast air. Like,
what the?
Like really fast.
That's a weird thing
like when air is fast.
Yo, I just used that phrase to describe my mother.
It's
oh my
hot.
God.
It's like hot, fast air.
Hot, fast. That's
awesome. What he sounded like, and I'm like, why is he? Why is it like a shriek, like an airy shriek? I was like, this is weird. And so then I just kind of wrote them off. I was like, man, these guys, and that was up until today.
Nice.
Yeah, I have matured in my black metal listening. I understand different styles of metal vocals and the approach to extreme metal. And now I understand. And now I listen to Danny Filth, and some things are pretty campy.
Sure.
But I get the shriek, and I'm invested in what he does vocally. Let's get back to the campy part and the corny nature of what Cradle of Filth does with all of the imagery and the like the deep that he does, and like the crazy symphonic nature. It actually all works, but it will only work if you totally let go of your suspension of disbelief and just dive the fuck in. That's the only way it's going to work. Otherwise, you're going to be like, this is crazy and it's everything and it's too much. You can only avoid too much if you just let go and get into it.
Yeah. Danny Filth, more like Danny Corn. The boy's surname is Corn. That's okay. So I will be honest. They were one of the first extreme metal bands I really got into when I was probably, I think I was just getting into high school when I got into Cradle of Filth. So I was probably, I don't know, fucking 13 or some shit. And I had grown up in my preteen years listening to a lot of gothic rock. So I was really into Bauhaus, and I was into Susie and the Banshees, and I liked, you know, like shit like that. I mean, I was really into, I liked Shriekback for a while, and their one fucking song. You know that song? Nemesis by
Yes.
not Nemesis by Cradle of Filth, Nemesis by Shriekback. Oh, back Nemesis, I'm a Nemesis, Nemesis.
I think I heard that song from you, actually. Maybe.
It's a goof song, but I mean, it's very possible. But you know, I was into very self-indulgent theatrical music growing up, so getting into Cradle of Filth was not difficult for me. I was like, yeah, look at that fucking thing, and I was just totally down with it. So it was a lot of things that were going on, and once I picked up Nymphetamine, which was, you know, the big album at the time, 04.
Yeah. Hello?
I was 11, whatever. All right, I was a little off, whatever. But yeah, so I really enjoyed it. I really liked the heaviness of it. I really liked the slower songs. I thought they had a lot to offer. So I got into it. But yeah, that's the thing. I mean, especially like compared to something like gothic rock, where you're really going to need to be like, yeah, you just eyeliner, bats, always with the bats with you. You know, you don't have to like it's
bats and candles. It's just bats and candles all the time. Bats and candles.
And then you gotta kind of be like, all right, well, bats and candles is kind of the shtick, just as like the shtick with every genre of music has its tropes. You know, I mean, a lot of times with black metal, it's very about like Satan, and I mean, it's just the trope that it'll have. And since Danny Filth is really into the gothic literature and the Victorian aesthetic and things like that, it's going to be very flowery and poetic in a dark way, you know. So that's why a lot of he goes over the top and is melodramatic, because that's kind of the style that they're going for. And it can come off self-indulgent, but I mean, you know, what doesn't? At some point you got to be like, everything's kind of self-indulgent to an extent, because it's music, it's art, right? So so this album, what did you think of this album?
I really, really enjoyed it.
Tell me about that.
It was great. I loved the incorporation of all of the eccentricities of this band with just straight foot. What the f?
It's a fucking person over there. God, it's a fucking person. Go on. I'm sorry.
All of the eccentricities of Cradle of Filth in every sense. I mean, from the orchestral elements to the narration voice to the female operatic vocals to everything, mixed with just straightforward extreme metal that dances that border of black and death metal that I just love. I eat that shit for breakfast. And so I really enjoy it. I really like that. I'm happy that I appreciate it now. I'm so behind the curve.
I hear you.
Because the band's like just about as old as I am. And I've
been around for a while.
I like it. The only thing, I mean, listen, if you're them, how are you going to take a break on an album? You're not. So 8 tracks that almost all of them go over the 7-minute mark. At times it could be a fatiguing listen, but I really enjoyed it. It's like eating a lot of cake. It's like eating a lot of cake.
I'll eat a lot of fucking cake.
Me too, but not every day.
Why? You're not going to eat cake every day?
Maybe not.
What days are you going to eat cake?
Maybe on the weekends.
Why not Thursday?
Well,
why
Thursday.
Not Monday? What's wrong with those? Are those not cake eating days? Do you have like a religious ritual that you have to eat cake for? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't eat cake. I only eat cake on the cake Sabbath. What? Why are you not eating cake on the Tuesdays?
Cake Sabbath. Cake Sabbath.
Oh my God, Master of Cake is my favorite album.
That's different.
All right, so
okay, yes,
this is something. One of the things I really do appreciate about this album, in my eyes, is that compared to a lot of other black metal bands that don't go for the raw thing necessarily, they go for the symphonic thing. I don't think it's as like self-indulgent as those, to be honest with you, because a lot of the I don't know, bands like Anorexia Nervosa or Old Man's Child or something like that, they'll just have this fucking stupid fucking string tone they play on keyboards, and it just gets obnoxious, you know.
Yeah.
And one thing I do like about Cradle of Filth and what they do on this album, as well as some of the is they won't necessarily use this goddamn fucking string sample patch every goddamn. It's so. I personally, I think that it is much more inventive in the symphonic black metal genre. If you want to call it black metal, I mean, people will yell at you about that. So if you go to a Mayhem show and be like, my favorite black metal band is Cradle of Filth, you might get beat up. But some of the things I liked about the album that I thought was really cool is they did have a good variety of tempos. They will have like faster songs for sure, but they'll also have the slower songs. Like, what was a really slow song that they did?
Oh yeah, great.
On the album, which one?
That was a really cool
one.
Was
it Vengeful Spirit? Which one was it? Was it Vengeful Spirit? Am I like full of shit?
Let's see.
Was it Achingly Beautiful? I don't know.
I can't access my note at the moment. Hang on 1 second.
It's okay. Well, they'll have the slower songs. They'll have the doomier songs, like the title track. They have a lot of doom in it, but it transitions into the.
That was Seductiveness of Decay, the title track. That's what did it. That it started off. It was like a death doom song almost. And
it was like a death doom song.
It was cool.
Yeah. And it has a lot of variety in that regard, which isn't unusual for Cradle of Filth. They'll usually like switch it up a good amount. On Nymphetamine, they had a song "Filthy Little Secret" that was, it was in a major key. You know what I mean? Which is very unusual, especially for an extreme metal band. So, well, it goes into a minor key, but you know what I mean. Like it'll have.
Let's incorporate that.
If it was titled like a classical piece, it would say "Filthy Little Secret" in F minor or F major. You know, that's kind of, it'll have one flat, the B flat. Okay, how are you? So I think that that's one of the selling points for me for Cradle of Filth and this album is it'll have a lot of variety. You will have the a good variety in Danny Filth's voice because he will do the lows, he'll do the shrieks, he'll do the wretched, you know, and he'll also have the howl thing that he does that he's done since early days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of my selling points. There's a lot of variety in the tempo, the textures, the everything. You know, I think it's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. For an extreme metal release, this is so solid, and it has everything that I like about extreme metal in it, and more. And so I really appreciate this release. I think it's great.
Yeah, definitely. I really liked it. It isn't traditional black metal, but that's what I think makes it so interesting. Is it's not traditional, you know.
Yeah.
It's doesn't fall into the camp of Dark Throne worship, which I just can't stand, you know.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. So it definitely has a lot of things I do think are going for it, and I don't think the polished production is a detriment. I think it works very well with what they're doing because they have a lot of harmony in these songs. They have a lot of melody that they really want you to hear because it is done pretty well. I mean, you can tell a lot of the influences on this album. I hear a lot of Iron Maiden in this album.
Yeah, definitely.
And on the title track, I'll mention again, there was a lot of thrash metal, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that was cool. I really loved the thrashy elements of that. That was probably my favorite song, was the title track. I love how the album starts. I mean, I know it's an intro track, but when you get into Heartbreak and Seance, it's a strong, heavy track, and it sets the precedent for what you're going to get over the 8 tracks. Unfortunately, by Death and the Maiden, the closer, there are a lot of changes. I need to spend more time with that one. I got a little bit tired. I was like, I don't know where to go. And so, but it was great. I mean, you just have some heavy, Vengeful Spirit is so aggressive and mean. There's a mean riff in there, and it's great. So all of the different directions.
Yeah. I'd give it one thumbs up, you know. I think some of my favorite standout tracks, right? my standout tracks for this album are going to be the title track for sure. I would agree with you, Brian. I think that's the best one on the album. And I will say Heartbreak and Seance is another one. And finally, I like Death in the Maiden. I thought that was a really cool song.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll give those three as my standout tracks. What about you?
Yeah, definitely the title track. I would say Vengeful Spirit, along with Heartbreak and Seance, are probably my favorites. Achingly Beautiful was a little bit campy, but I dug it. It was okay. I can take that on this album, and I will absolutely accept all those elements because, you know, that weird dingy thing, the dingy piano.
Oh, yeah. The dingy.
That's as campy as that is. That's the only place on the album you're going to see that. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's like good in and out, and then you never hear from that again. Not that I don't want that, but I don't want too much of that.
Yeah. It would be very obviously overplayed if they did that more than once.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think it was tasteful the way they did include it just for a short period of time. It didn't seem too over the top.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are mine. Who would you recommend this album to? There's an interesting question.
Lord, not black metal fans.
No.
No.
No way.
But fans of classical music.
Interesting.
I would. Yes. Fans of romantic era.
Classical music?
Classical, yeah.
Interesting. I'm going to give a few comments that I think might be interesting. Dark wave. Especially new classical dark wave, like Sober Eternus.
Okay, yeah.
I will say recommend it to fans of bands like Exodus, I will say. And fuck, man, I'll give it to fans of gothic rock too. You know,
sure,
goddamn it. It's and you know, that's symphonic, like gothic metal too. I mean, if you like bands like I don't know, Catatonia, Tiamat, you know, those bands. Yeah, so if you like any of those bands, anything like that, the vocalist of Theater of Tragedies feature on this album. I should probably say that.
That's kind of cool.
So yeah, those are my picks. And
nice.
we're D-minus chats and suck it to me, right?
How about hey, send those oatmeal raisin cookies back where they came from.
My compliments to the chef. Psych.
I wasn't prepared for that. Oh,
I
man.
know. Yeah, I'm a ruthless bitch. I'm Ruth, the bitch.
It's nice to meet you.
Thank you. I'm the bitch.
Put her there, partner.
Put her there.
I've made an error. I'm sorry. Are you okay?
That was gross.
I apologize.
It sounded like a salamander licking sandpaper. Salamand paper. That's the name of my fourth debut album, was Salamand Paper.
All right.
Hey, man. Take it easy. Take a load off, Fanny, and we'll catch you next time.
We will. We'll see you soon. Hey, wait. Let us know what albums to review. What should we review?
Let us know what albums to review. What should we review? Do you want us to review Bounded in Blood by Exodus? We're not going to do it.
We already did that. Goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye.